From slop to survival. The dark secret behind budget cuts in U.S. prison kitchens. Subscribe for more real crime stories. Like, share, and join the discussion below. The tray hit the concrete floor with a sharp, metallic crash that echoed down the cell block. For a moment, everything froze. Inmate Jacob Reeves had slumped forward the second the slot in the steel door slammed shut. His knees buckled. The thin, grayish mass on the tray, what the prison called Nutraloaf, slid across the floor as his body collapsed beside it. From the hallway, a corrections officer watching through the narrow window in the door saw Reeves lying still, one hand stretched toward the lump of food that had made him gag moments before. "Officer down to Unit D. Inmate unresponsive." The voice crackled over the radio. Within seconds, heavy boots thundered down the concrete corridor. Keys rattled. The sharp whine of a door unlocking cut through the air. A medic rushed in, kneeling beside Reeves, checking his pulse. The fluorescent lights above flickered slightly, casting a pale blue glare over his dull skin and sunken cheeks. He hadn't eaten a real meal in 3 days. This wasn't an accident. This wasn't bad luck. This was the result of a decision made far away in a quiet government office where a line item had been crossed out on a budget sheet. Food services, reduce. And inside this U.S. prison, the consequences were now collapsing onto the concrete floor. As Reeves was lifted onto a stretcher, other inmates pressed their faces to the narrow windows of their cell doors. Some banged on the metal. Others stayed silent, watching with hollow eyes. They all knew the truth. If it could happen to him, it could happen to any of them. That moment, a collapsed inmate, a rejected meal, guards scrambling, was the breaking point. But the story didn't begin there. It had started months earlier. The prison was a medium-security facility in the Midwest, built in the 1980s and designed to hold around 1,200 men. For years, the meals had been basic but predictable: overcooked vegetables, bologna sandwiches, powdered eggs, watery soup. It was not good, but it was food. Then the budget cuts came. State officials called it necessary reform. To the inmates and kitchen staff, it felt like slow starvation. Contracts with food suppliers were changed. Fresh vegetables were replaced with canned products. Meats were reduced. Portions shrank. Calories dropped. And slowly, the kitchen began to look different. The head cook, a civilian employee named Martha Hensley, noticed the first signs. Boxes arrived with dents, labels peeling, expiration dates smudged or scratched out. The smell of the walk-in fridge changed too. It used to be cold and clean. Now, certain corners carried a sour, sweet rot that clung to the air. "They told me to use it anyway," she later testified in a deposition. "They said, just cook it hotter." Inmates working in the kitchen saw worse. Rice with tiny black bugs mixed in. Milk that came out in thick clumps. Bread so stiff and dry it cracked instead of tearing. When food shipments ran low, a new solution was introduced. Nutraloaf, a dense baked block made from crushed leftovers, oats, and whatever nutritional substitute was cheapest at the time. Officially, it was nutritionally complete. Unofficially, inmates called it slop, brick, punishment bread. It appeared most often in solitary confinement units and disciplinary housing. If an inmate talked back, if he refused a search, if he filed too many grievances, the message was clear. Obedience meant food. Resistance meant the loaf. Grievances started piling up. "I am constantly hungry. I am losing weight. My stomach hurts after every meal." But each complaint disappeared into a system designed not to hear them. Outside the prison walls, no one seemed to notice. The state was proud of its cost savings. Millions of dollars diverted away from prison meals and toward priority needs. On paper, the plan was working perfectly. Inside, men were quietly deteriorating. Guards started noticing small things first. Inmates lingering near the trash bins, searching for leftovers. Men trading toothbrushes, stamps, and letters just for half a bread roll. The older prisoners especially grew thin. Their uniforms sagged. The tension in the air thickened. On a Tuesday in late autumn, a kitchen worker whispered to another inmate, "They're making a new batch tomorrow, worse than the last one." That night, several men refused dinner altogether. By morning, the warden received reports of unusual behavior in multiple wings. A slight rise in heart rates, agitation, refusals to line up. Then word spread that a kitchen worker had secretly taken photos on a contraband phone. Images of green-tinted meat and mold-covered bread stacked in storage crates marked for that very day's lunch. Those images hadn't reached the outside world yet, but they had reached the inside. And by noon, the first tray hit the floor by the early 2000s. The warning signs were impossible to ignore, but they had already been buried deep inside prison accounting reports and state budget spreadsheets. Across multiple U.S. states, departments of corrections were told to do more with less. Medical units were understaffed. Maintenance was delayed. And the first place to be quietly gutted was the prison kitchen. At facilities in Arizona, Michigan, and Texas, food budgets were slashed to shocking levels, in some cases dropping to less than $1.50 per inmate per meal. The official explanation was efficiency. The real result was desperation. Suppliers began delivering lower-grade ingredients. Fresh vegetables were replaced with canned substitutes. Expiration dates were ignored. Freezer temperatures were no longer closely monitored due to broken equipment. Former kitchen workers later admitted that meat sometimes arrived partially spoiled, green around the edges, smelling wrong. But rejecting shipments wasn't an option. If they sent it back, there would be no food replacement coming. In Arizona's prisons, officials introduced Nutraloaf, more commonly called food loaf. It was a dense, brick-like mixture made from blended leftovers, vegetables, soy, bread, and meat scraps, baked into a solid block. It was originally intended for inmates who broke rules, but budget cuts caused it to become more common. Lawsuits piled up as inmates claimed it made them sick, caused weight loss, and violated basic human rights. At the same time, portions were shrinking. An inmate at a Michigan facility described meals in a sworn statement. Breakfast is a scoop of thin oatmeal and a slice of white bread. Lunch is a bologna sandwich with no condiments. Dinner is rice, gravy, and something that used to be meat. Hunger changed behavior inside the walls. Inmates who had never broken rules before began sneaking extra trays, hiding food in clothing, or trading possessions for scraps. In some prisons, gangs seized control of food distribution during mealtimes, turning meals into a black market currency. A packet of ramen noodles could now buy protection. A piece of fruit could earn a favor. Tension spread through the cell blocks. Correctional officers started reporting increased aggression during chow time. Fights broke out over missing bread. Kitchen staff found storage doors pried open in the middle of the night. And then came the first major incident tied directly to the meals. In 2009, at a correctional facility in Texas, dozens of inmates suddenly fell ill after dinner. Diarrhea, vomiting, severe stomach pain. Medical staff traced the outbreak to contaminated meat that had been served despite its expiration date. The administration tried to contain the story, but the truth leaked to the media, and families outside began asking questions. Inside, the inmates had already reached their own conclusion. This wasn't just neglect. It was systematic, and someone was making money from the suffering. As investigators began tracing the contracts behind the food suppliers, they uncovered something even darker, hiding beneath the budget cuts and network of kickbacks, fake inspections, and falsified safety reports that pointed to corruption inside the very system meant to protect them. Then, one kitchen worker quietly contacted a journalist, and what he revealed would change everything. The kitchen worker's name was never released to the public. For his own safety, he became source in the investigation files. But his words would echo far beyond the prison walls. He described how delivery logs were altered, how inspection dates were forged, and how certain suppliers were paid in full even when shipments arrived spoiled or incomplete. Boxes labeled Grade A beef contained low-quality offcuts. Dairy products arrived warm. Fresh produce, when it came at all, was already decaying. His most shocking admission was simple. Everyone knew. They just didn't care. Inmates aren't supposed to complain. An independent investigation was triggered in 2010. Journalists, human rights groups, and state auditors began connecting the dots. In Michigan and Arizona, similar patterns emerged, the same distributors, the same paperwork tricks, the same silent approvals from inside the system. It wasn't just poor management. It was organized neglect. Lawsuits soon followed. Inmates and former inmates filed claims of cruel and unusual punishment under the Eighth Amendment. Medical records showed unexplained weight loss. Reports detailed outbreaks of foodborne illnesses. Photos taken with contraband phones eventually leaked online, showing trays of barely edible, unrecognizable food. Under pressure, several state departments of corrections terminated contracts with major suppliers. New oversight systems were introduced. Surprise inspections returned. In some facilities, food budgets were slightly increased. The changes were slow, but they were real. Inside the prisons, word spread quickly. Meals won't be great, inmates said, but at least they won't kill us. Yet the scars remained. Years of silent hunger, humiliation, and sickness could not be undone. The damage had already shaped lives, fed anger, and sharpened distrust in the system meant to rehabilitate. As one former inmate later said in an interview, "People think prison is just about locking the door, but it's also about how much of a human you're still allowed to be." And for years, in kitchens hidden behind concrete and steel, that humanity had been quietly stripped away, one tray at a time.